Hi, welcome to Parent Alienation is Child Abuse Unfiltered. Thank you all for being here, and welcome to all the new subscribers. I thank you and appreciate each and every one of you. It shows that you're showing an interest in the children of the future and the generations to come. We had a discussion the other day about Father's Day. I did a talk about narcissistic mothers out there that alienate their children from loving fathers unnecessarily, and the damage that this causes the children, that a lot of people forget to realise that the kids hurt on these days as well. Today I'm going to do a bit of a chat about Mother's Day, because my channel wasn't up and running when Mother's Day was here. But Mother's Day is much the same thing. Mother's Day, there was a lot of mothers sitting around not having contact with their children. You see, narcissistic parents work on both sides of the field. It can be a male and it can be a female. There's no or men don't do that, or women don't do that. It's the same, both sides. There's no comparison. It's still nasty. It still affects the children. It hurts people unnecessarily. I think that we need to educate, as I've spoken before. These mothers that were denied seeing their children are left with a hole in their heart as well, because these children were carried by these mothers, and these mothers have been alienated unnecessarily from their children by spiteful fathers that, again, can't get over relationships split up, and the fact that they wanted to move on without them. Now, as I've said before, narcissistic people use their child against the other parent as a way to hurt them, because that's the only way you can really hurt somebody, is to alienate their child or have the child turn against you. That's what they do. See, this hurts the child just as much as it hurts the mother. The father's trying to hurt the mother because the father couldn't get over the woman leaving him or moving on, finding a new partner. If the relationships don't work out, they don't work out. But end your relationship properly. Don't go find somebody else before your relationship's finished. That goes on both sides as well, male and female. If you're in a relationship you don't want to be in, then leave it, move it. Don't stay there and cause pain and hurt unnecessarily to people just for the reason of spite. We've talked before about education. How do we educate people on how to not become a narcissistic person? Again, that stems back to upbringing. Their upbringing, if they've been allowed to get away with telling people what to do and getting away with what they want all the time, they'll turn into a narcissistic person because they feel entitled. Narcissistic people like the power and control that they can have by bossing people around or demanding things they want or manipulating people into getting what they want. That's what they're about. They're about power and control. And that needs to be broken while they're a child. Now, not all kids can be turned not into a narcissistic child, because some people are just naturally born that way. That I have to just teach your children how to deal with somebody that's a narcissistic. That's another educational thing we need to work on. How do you deal with someone who is a narcissistic person? My suggestion is don't give them what they want every time they ask for it, and if they're bossing you around or trying to isolate you, take it as a red flag and get out of there. Don't have kids. Don't. Too many people get into a relationship and then rush out and have a child. Like, get to know each other first. Get to know who's who. Get to work out your relationship, who's, you might be with this person 6 months and then find out you don't want to be with that person anymore. You need to focus on the children to get them to understand what's happened to them. It's not their fault, for one. They need to understand that, because, like I've said before, these children blame themselves. When a relationship falls apart and people have children involved, these children blame themselves why mum and dad aren't together again, why dad left or why mum left. It's the children blame themselves. Now, these selfish parents on both sides forget the children. They're too wound up in their own selfish bickering and arguing and spreading vile hate about each other. Like, relationship doesn't work, then move on. These children witness everything. These kids, just because they're not involved in all the arguments or you can't see them, doesn't mean they don't hear what's happening. Doesn't mean they don't feel what's happening. These kids have a strong sense of what's going on. The parents that think they don't are really stupid, because kids do know what's happening. They do feel things. They do feel which one is actually the one doing the narcissistic behaviour. They are a witness to this, and I've witnessed kids myself with a narcissistic father that stand there confused why they say all this horrible stuff about their mother. Like I said, today I'm going to focus on the father's side of it, because the other day we did the mother's side, because we had Father's Day. I mean, I wasn't here for Mother's Day, so I'm going to have a bit of a chat about that. I've got stories to tell you about a few narcissistic fathers out there that have children that really probably shouldn't have children. Main reason they have these children is to use them as a pawn, so that they get away with a lot more things in life than they would normally get away with than having a child with them. Because narcissistic people are not just narcissistic to the parent involved in the alienation. These narcissistic people go out in the world and be narcissistic people. And they usually show their true colours when you turn around and criticise them or question them on something. Then you'll see a glimpse of them. Now, I'd like to give a bit of an example of a narcissistic father's behaviour with a child during a handover point. When there was, through the courts, there was custody visits allowed, and the mother was to meet at a public place, because that way she felt safe, to do a handover. And the father would come flirty all the time, and the mother would try to be friendly to keep peace amongst, around the child, because you don't want child seeing hostilities or bitterness or anything like that. Like I've said before, these kids pick this stuff up. But it's really hard when you go to pick up a child and you're trying to be friendly and make general conversation, and the narcissistic father interprets that as you being flirty with them. And then when you don't want to get touched, or go to put your hand around you don't want to get touched, and you move away, they get shitty. That's what they do. There's been other times when this person's gone to handover and this narcissistic's father showed up with flowers with this little girl, because he had all intentions of thinking he was going to get this girl back, and she had no intention in the world of going back to that person or that behaviour that he had. But he would do all these different things as a way to tell his daughter at the time, "Oh, we'll give Mum these flowers, and Mum will come back to us." Can you imagine what goes through that little girl's head, or that child's head, to think your father's talking about all this, "Oh, we're going to get back together, and wouldn't it be nice if Mum and Dad and everybody were together again?" But there was no intention of that ever happening, and the mother was only trying to be civil. Be a civil person, keep the peace amongst the child, pick up the child and go. Simple, that was what they were there for. But this narcissistic father wouldn't do that. This narcissistic father would sit there and talk to her and talk to her and talk to her. And when she decided, she wanted to go and they had to leave, he'd get shitty. And sometimes he'd be shitty enough that the next time it was time to go and see this child, the child was sick. But then he's on the phone telling the mother the child's sick. And while he's doing that, the child's in the background screaming that she wants to see her mother. Please, Daddy, let me see my mum. I'm not sick, Daddy. Let me go." But he didn't. He told the mother she's sick, she can't come this weekend, and hung up the phone. Can you imagine what happened to that child when that phone hung up? My skin crawls to think what would have happened to that little girl with her carrying on wanting to see her mother to a narcissistic father. We'll do videos on I want to do videos on red flags, to watch out for red flags. I want to do a video on the trauma these children face, the abuse these children face at the hands of these narcissistic parents. Today we're talking about fathers, but the mothers are just as bad. I've got stories of mothers hurting their children when they've talked about their father. It happens on both sides of the fence, as I've said before. Narcissistic people are just narcissistic. They don't care. Their number one care person is themselves. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for today. Thank you guys for joining me and everybody that's jumping on board. I'm so happy that people are interested in this. This is our next generation and the generations to come. If we can't do something to stop it now, what chance has the future got? We're in a crazy world as it is. Everybody knows there's so much doubt out there with this world, what's happening out there right now. The last thing these kids need to be worried about what's happening at home. Let kids be kids. Let kids focus on being happy and enjoying school and seeing their parents. If you're a parent that isolates your child from the other loving parent, if you're an alienator, please look in the mirror. Please have a real serious think about what you're doing to your child. You're doing irreversible damage. That child has a right to love both the parents. And if you're only withholding that child because you couldn't get along, or couldn't get over the fact that they've moved on, then I feel sorry for you. I feel sorry for you because, one, I feel sorry you have to use your child against another loving person to make that person want you. Two, I feel sorry for you because one day your child will wake up and you will be left alone. You have a lot to answer for. Think about that. I'll leave it there today and I'll catch you on my next one. Stay positive, stay smiling, spread love, not hate. The world needs more love, not more trauma, not more disappointment, not more betrayal. We can make this world a better place. Just got to choose to. For your children to come and the children to come after that. For the future generations. We can do this.